Welcome to the Industry Experts Panel at PortfolioWealthGlobal.com. My name is Michelle Holliday. Today, we are welcoming back to the show Mr. Rob Kirby of KirbyAnalytics.com. Rob is based in Toronto, Canada, and he is one of the best economic commentators in the business. He is an expert in finance and precious metals. He is the author of the book entitled The Gold Suppression Movement. Rob is very outspoken and honest. And this is going to be an epic pre-election interview. We are going to be talking about money, inflation, the stock market, and of course, the presidential election is just days away. Rob, welcome back to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, Michelle, and a pleasure to be with you once again.
Yes, we always are thrilled to have you here, especially right now. Rob, I want to start off with the presidential election and the giant elephant in the room. Most of the mainstream media is avoiding this. So we, of course, are going to go there. Now, Rob, I want to mention to most people that they typically understand that in the field of journalism, reporters are always searching for that career-launching, breaking story. So what is happening right now is very, very strange. The biggest story in the history of politics is unfolding. Our former vice president appears to have been paid off by multiple foreign entities in millions of dollars, which is clearly a huge national security risk to the citizens of our country. And most of the mainstream media is looking the other way. What is your perspective from Canada?
Well, my perspective from Canada, Michelle, is that the Biden story is the equivalent of kryptonite, and the media is absolutely terrified to report the situation with how conflicted and compromised a presidential candidate is, and in particular this close to the election. I mean, the allegations that are rampant about Joe Biden and what he's done with regard to his son and his son's business dealings. And I mean, Joe Biden, it seems to me anyway, from up here in Canada, it seems to me that Joe Biden has been pimping out his son and taking a cut on all the political or geopolitical tricks his son has been performing. And I find it absolutely and utterly abhorrent and appalling that this is allowed to go on, and that this can go on with absolutely zero coverage from the mainstream press. It's a travesty, and Americans deserve better. Humanity deserves better, Michelle.
I wanted to get your perspective because you are outside the country. You, of course, are our neighbors in Canada. But from the perspective of the rest of the world, not just Canada, I mean, this is mainstream top news all over the world right now, except in the United States. And if what is being alleged is true, then he indeed used his sons. Now, this is all coming from investigative journalism that I did not do. However, it is in the mainstream media in some places, including the New York Post. Now, how someone who has never held a job before can be hired to sit on the board of directors of foreign entities that are ruled by foreign governments when his father is indeed the sitting vice president is the question. And if indeed this happened when the former vice president says, I never took a dime from any foreign entity, he's in fact telling the truth. Because if this is true, it was funneled through his son. It's turning into numbers that are hundreds of millions of dollars because these are several foreign countries. Again, this is a breaking story. It's all alleged to have happened. However, the evidence is unmistakably upon a laptop, which reportedly was given to the FBI in December of 2019, which again is another question, almost a year ago. So again, this is a national security issue and it should be the top of our mainstream media. However, it is not. That
Not
might
only,
actually...
but Michelle, in all honesty, not only is it not being reported by the mainstream media, anybody who attempts to report it in the alternative press is being deplatformed. And I've had firsthand experience with that issue personally. So I mean, you see, the problem with all this, Michelle, is that if the allegations are true, and I have no reason to believe that they're not true, it dismisses Joe Biden from being eligible to become the president of your country. So it's of the utmost importance, at least in my view, that humanity, and specifically and in your country, that people get to the bottom of this. Because I mean, if the reporting that's seeping out, under the, through the cracks, if it's true, he cannot be your president. He just, because he's owned, he's compromised, he's blackmailed. And I mean, the alleged videos, the alleged information that has surfaced basically through Rudolph Giuliani, whatever Giuliani has, the Chinese have all that information. I mean, so which means that Biden is blackmailed, or is blackmailable, and you can't have a president of the United States who is beholden to another country. It just doesn't work. So I mean, this needs to be resolved in a very, very speedy way. At least in my view, it has to be. Otherwise, America loses its standing in the world, and maybe they lose reserve currencies. This might be the thing that tips the balance, that makes the rest of the world say we can no longer have the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency, because they are rudderless and do not have leadership. I mean, it's of utmost importance that the world gets to the bottom of this, and he's either excluded from being president, or we have a resolution to this, to these allegations. It has to come out, and it has to come out quickly. Time is of the essence. The election is next week. Time for games is over. This needs to be resolved.
Yeah.
Because the status quo can't stand. Not on this. It cannot stand. And why political leadership in America doesn't recognize that this cannot stand. This can't stand the way it is. And this idea that if you don't report it, it goes away. It's ridiculous. It's like saying when you've got gangrene, ignoring it doesn't make it better. Ignoring it means you're going to start losing appendages. Okay, lose a leg, lose an arm, maybe lose both legs, maybe lose your reserve currency status, maybe get thrown into a well and into third world country status. Maybe it happens overnight. I mean, this can't stand. People don't get it. People think it's okay. And it's not okay. It's not all right. This needs to be resolved.
And, the thing about, I think that they're hugely underestimating this situation. The mainstream media and the politicians that we have sitting in seats right now don't get it. I'm not sure that the FBI and the CIA at this point even care. The FBI sat on it, but they don't understand that the rest of the world, the rest of the global world is watching this election and have been watching it very, very closely throughout the entire year, wondering what was going to happen. So when this emerged, when this came up, everyone, Japan, China, Europe, everyone is watching this very carefully. And for us in front of the entire world to take a huge story of what appears to be incredible corruption that, again, is a major national security issue, and to simply not talk about it. I mean, during the last debate, our sitting president, President Trump, tried to address this topic, and he was actually shut down by the journalist moderator who interrupted him. That's not the question. And she never brought it up except for one time. The only question she asked of candidate Biden was, have you ever taken any money from a foreign government? To which he, of course, responded, I have never taken a dime from a foreign government. And Rob, he hasn't. What he did was, allegedly, if he did it, he funneled it through his son, which, is one of the most transparent third grade operations that you could have.
Michelle, that response is the equivalent to a pimp saying he does not live off the avails of prostitution. And I hate to tell you, when you're a pimp, you're making your life and you're living from prostitution. So to say that you're not prostituting yourself as a pimp might be a nifty way of sidestepping reality. But you see, you can sidestep reality all you want, but you can't avoid the consequences of dodging reality, because the consequences of dodging reality tend to hit you in the face. And I mean, the allegations are that Joe was taking a percentage on not only his son's efforts, but his brother's efforts as well. And it seems to me that if the allegations are anywhere near correct, the office of the Vice President of the United States has a for sale sign on it, and Joe's been conducting sales on the side and taking a percentage of everything that's earned by selling the country out. These are treasonous and seditious acts. I mean, this. Like I say, this will not stand. The status quo for America will not remain if this is allowed to stand.
This is what's so frightening, and this is why I wanted to bring it up right off the top, is because our status as a country in the world right now is basically in jeopardy, because we are the reserve currency barely. That's been questioned for years. Is the United States trustworthy? Are they able to make good decisions on behalf of the entire world? And so the entire world to watch this go down and watch our mainstream media just pretend it's not happening. I swear I watched everything yesterday, and instead of discussing this, they were talking about, who's the red state? Who's the blue state? How many votes does Trump have? How many votes does Biden have? They're focused with tunnel vision on the election. Well, again, this giant elephant is sitting in the room. So if the election were to go a certain way, don't you think the rest of the world would step back and say, oh my God, they didn't even investigate it? You know what I mean? It's hard to believe that this is happening in the United States, Rob.
I'm deeply concerned about it, Michelle. And I mean, I'm at a point where I don't know what I can do about it, other than say I find it difficult to believe that this could occur. But here we are. And the election is less than a week away now. And this issue has not been dealt with in the way it should be. If there are any rational thinkers left in America, this needs to be dealt with anyway. And that's on top of financial travesties that have been occurring, money printing, the printing press and it's not just America with the printing press. It's everywhere in the Western world. We are spending ourselves into oblivion. And I mean, this is another thing that comes around. What goes around comes around. And when this comes around, and when we lose our credit ratings collectively, and when governments in the Western world are cut off from the ability to raise money in the public markets, this is a very, very big issue going forward. And unfortunately it's going to be an issue that we are not going to be able to avoid indefinitely. So we have big issues confronting us, and that's assuming that Trump gets reelected. We still have massive issues to confront. Anyway, but just to finish it up on Biden, if he gets elected, I think it's a very, very dark time for America. That will ensue very, very quickly on the heels of a Biden win. So
yeah,
I hope and pray that doesn't happen.
Yeah, me too. Hopefully we get the best case scenario with our president, and we move forward in rebuilding our country, including our monetary system. But if we don't, I want to clarify for everyone, when I speak of, if we do this in front of the world, if we ignore this situation in front of the world, and the world loses trust with us, and therefore our position as being the world's reserve currency status is lost. Rob, explain in a very basic way what it means for the United States, number one, to have reserve currency status, and number two, what it means to lose it.
Well, you see, a great way to illustrate this, if people can use their imagination a little bit, 25 years ago, Venezuela was one of the most prosperous, wealthy nations on the planet. And, Venezuelan people enjoyed an extremely high standard of living because, they had it all. They have energy. They have the country's very rich in natural resources. The country, for the most part, has the ability to feed itself. But what happened in Venezuela is they went down a socialist, I'm going to say a Bolshevik path, which tipped sort of rewrote their social infrastructure. And, they went off on basically, I'm going to say they went off on a socialist rant and spent their country into oblivion, all with borrowed money. And if any of this sounds familiar, just raise your hand, because, it's, and listen, I'm not throwing rocks. I don't live in a glass house and throw rocks. What we're doing in Canada is no more sound financial practice than what I'm speaking of with regards to America. The only thing I can honestly say, Canada at least does not have reserve currency status. And if we get too far out of line, our currency gets destroyed. And the people that run Canada know that. And the people that run Venezuela are very aware of what they've done to their currency, because their currency collapsed, and they're experiencing hyperinflation now. And let's just say people that were at the top of society 25 years ago are looking for meals in dumpsters in Venezuela today. And that's how badly living standards collapsed due to financial recklessness in Venezuela. And if the powers that be in America want to take America down that road, they will, if they push hard enough, they will lose the reserve currency status, and living standards in America will plummet. And what comes along with that, who knows? But civil unrest would probably be at the top of the list of possible outcomes should they go there. So there's a lot on the line. This is not playing for fun anymore. This is for keeps. It's real. This is real stuff. And people don't understand how real it really is. And if we elect Joe, or if you elect Biden in your country, you're probably going to find out very quickly how swiftly the world. There was a time when I didn't think they could ever do that. But when I see the way they irresponsibly won't report on, the Biden situation, I don't know anymore. I don't know what to believe anymore. And I put nothing past anyone.
Right. It's because the people in this country, number one, haven't studied what happens in history or other parts of the world, number one. And number two, they haven't experienced any true hardship. And so they go out and create it for themselves. They go out and riot and burn things and, we're going to demonstrate, we're going to burn it all down, when they don't realize the fragileness. You can't bring it back. What are you doing? Why not protect it? Why not put that energy into protecting something rather than destroying it?
Absolutely.
Rob, I want to leave with your prediction on the presidential election.
I'm at a point where I hope and pray that Donald Trump is reelected. I think there's grave danger to America and to humanity if Joe Biden is allowed to take the office of president. Like I say, I think we've got some really tough sledding in front of us, no matter what happens. More of a financial as opposed to a geopolitical flavor if Trump is reelected. But geopolitics, I do believe, will spring to the forefront immediately or very soon thereafter if Biden wins the White House. So,
and I've heard it said that if America goes down, the whole world does.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, you see, everyone has a vested interest. Everybody in the world has a vested interest in what's going on in America. America is not America is still an extremely powerful country, and reserve currency status makes what goes on in America everyone's business. And I hope everybody realizes that what goes on in America is their business, and everyone has a vested interest in seeing, let's just say, a happy ending as opposed to an unhappy ending as in terms of what happens in America. So I think the whole world is watching.
Rob, it is always amazing to have you on this show. Please tell everyone where they can go to follow your work.
You can catch me on the web at kirbyanalytics.com.
Is there anything that I haven't mentioned that you'd like to mention in closing?
No, I just wish everybody good luck and smooth sailing. And hopefully we get this election behind us and we get a favorable outcome. I want to see something good for humanity come out of this. And hopefully America rises to the occasion again.
Yeah. And I think God is with us.
I sure hope so.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming on this show today.
Been my pleasure.
Mr. Rob Kirby, precious metals expert, financial commentator, author, and the founder of KirbyAnalytics.com. For the Industry Experts panel, I'm Michelle Holliday at PortfolioWealthGlobal.com.